Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the free legal advice show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, the free legal advice show provides you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. On this show, I am able to cover a vast, diverse range of matters. Matters ranging from immigration law matters, family law matters, criminal law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please feel free to pick up the phone and give me a ring here at British Muslim TV. Two ways to get in touch. First of all, to speak to me live, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, a very popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. So we've got the mobile number where you can send us messages, and if you want to speak to us live, you can do so by calling on the landline number there. A couple of minor points before we get going. Obviously, on a live show, it's not possible to take very detailed information from viewers who call in. If it transpires that your query is quite complex, or I need to look at your documents before I can advise you properly, then I will ask you to leave your number with the control room, and I will then have that more thorough discussion with you off air. And if the need is that I need to look at your documents before I can advise you, then that's absolutely fine as well. I'll arrange for you to send me the documents. I will have a look at the documents and have a thorough discussion with you. And that is a service that we provide completely free of charge as part of the free legal advice show. So as I've said, on the show, we get numerous questions on immigration law, which is fantastic. However, I can deal with other legal matters, family law matters, criminal law matters, personal injury law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please do feel free to get in touch with us. As always, we get numerous messages in on our WhatsApp number, which is fantastic. Please do continue to send those messages in. Just before we came on live today, we had a number of messages which had already come through. Let me start by looking at those messages that you, our viewers, have been sending to us here live at the studio. By all means, do please continue to send your messages in. If I advise you live on air, if you're not sure about the advice that I've given, or you need to have you've got follow-up questions, then please do get back in touch with us. Right, before we go to the questions, let's take our first call for the day. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, walaikum salam. It's Adil calling from Manchester.
Walaikum salam. Adil, thank you very much for calling.
I got one question. I am here from last about 13 years in UK, and I was switched to spouse visa in 2015.
I understand.
And my indefinite was due in January 2020.
Right, okay.
And I got that because at that time I went to the window and there was a straightforward decision. But I applied for my citizenship application that was applied last year in March, probably 23rd, 24th of March last year.
I understand, yep.
And up till now, I'm waiting for decision. It's been about, I think, 9 months, but I had few of my friends, like they applied after a couple of months after my application, almost with the same immigration history, everything, and they were granted like within 3-4 months. I was just wondered, like, is there any possibility to contact Home Office or something? Because a couple of times I rang them, but they literally got no clue. They goes, we just stop accelerating the applications and stuff. You just have to wait.
I understand. Did you submit a paper form or did you submit the online form?
I submitted the online application, and then they give me appointment for biometrics and all the document submission in Leeds.
So that's fine. So it's not a problem in terms of using the paper form, which seems to cause a lot of delay. If you just look back to your history, I know you said 2015 you switched to a spouse visa. Immediately prior to that, were there any problems at all in terms of maybe working when you weren't supposed to be working or anything like that?
No, nothing at all. I was on Tier 4 visa, and even at that time, every time when I had my visa application, I used to go to window for the quick decisions.
Okay. You know, when you had the Tier 4 visa, you had permission to work and you worked in accordance with your permission, did you?
When I was in uni, I used to work for 20 hours. I was allowed for 20 hours, so for 2-3 months I used to work for 20 hours. Rather than that, I was just in study.
I understand.
And it was not like anything that as
Okay,
well.
I understand. And there's obviously no issues in terms of criminal convictions or anything like
No,
that?
nothing at all. Since from the past 13 years, even each and every time, either it was Tier 4, spouse visa, ILR, everything was granted on window straight away.
Completely understand. All right, okay. Look, Adil, I can't see any problems with your application at all. I just want to find out, there's no issue over absences, is there? You've not been away for too long from the UK or anything like that?
No.
Okay, I think it's just a simple case of a delay in processing your application. I have to say, somebody who submitted the application in March should have really got the decision by now. Normally, the processing time seems to be around 6 months for citizenship.
What happened is, in the meantime, let me mention this. After when I submitted my application, after like 5.5 months, I just received an email that was like a standard email.
That's all it's going to say is, sorry, we can't deal with your application within our standard processing time. That means nothing.
You know, as soon as we make a decision and stuff, but at the moment, because of COVID-19, blah, blah, so that was the last response after 5.5 months
to be quite honest, I mean, the way you've described it, there's nothing at all in your application which causes any concern. It's a straightforward application. I think it's just it's simply a case of there being a delay on the part of the Home Office in processing applications. That's all it is. Your case has ended up in a particular queue where there's a longer delay. Sometimes what the Home Office does is they've got the cases in and your case is queued up for processing, and they might then get other applications in which may not be in the same queue as yours, so they might get processed within 2-3 months or something. It's an odd way of working. It doesn't always, the cases aren't always decided in line with the date in which they are submitted. So I wouldn't be concerned. What can you do? You can send them an email, but to be quite honest, that's about it. There is a nationality inquiries email that you can send them an email to. They'll probably respond saying your application is in process. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, to get in touch with them to somehow, because what I did is a couple of months back I tried to ring their number and
they don't have any information
once, and they goes that obviously it's something which is a third party and they don't have the clue as
they don't have anything,
and they goes that well, you have to wait because of COVID this, and but all I know is, like, for example, my application was end of March, and I had a couple of my friends, both of the friends, one of friend, it was his spouse, he applied for that, so all these 3 applications were exactly the same case as me, like no criminal records, nothing at all.
Were they all nationality applications, were they?
Nationality applications, yeah, and they were granted in about 4.5 months.
Yeah, I mean 4.5, maybe around 6 months. Around 6 months is the normal processing time. I think you've just got to be unlucky, to be quite honest. I don't think there's anything else. There's nothing else to it.
Right. So your suggestion is if I get in touch with them on that further nationality inquiries email, and they might get back to me.
I think then the only other thing that you can do, let's say you wait and you try and get in touch with them on the nationality inquiries email. Let's say you do that and you don't get any joy. The only other thing that you can do is contact your local MP around March of this year, because by that stage you've waited 1 year now. So I think it's reasonable for you to contact your local MP and ask your local MP to write to them. See, when the local MP writes, sometimes, you know what I've noticed, that if your case, your application has been left by, not progressed by mistake, then they do pick up the case and then deal with it when they realize that, you know what, on this case, it's been a year and nothing much is going on. So sometimes, you know, in straightforward cases like yours, where for no reason, it's just not been processed, Contacting your MP does help, but I think try the email first, and then around March time, I would contact your local MP just for them to write a letter to the Home Office. It's worth just getting your MP to push them to deal with it.
Okay.
I think that is the only thing that would work. There's no point you writing to them or getting a lawyer to write to them. I think what I would do is, if the email doesn't work in March, so literally we're about 6-7 weeks away, in March, I think get your local MP to write to them. I would certainly do that.
Right, yeah, that's fine. I think I'll follow this process, so within a couple of days I'll try to send them.
I mean, having said that, I mean, I do have a couple of cases where it has taken 6-9 months and we're still waiting for a decision. So your case isn't highly unusual. It does happen. There's nothing to worry about. I mean, those...
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking, because when I go through, I came in this country in 2009,
Sure.
and the visa was till 2011, went to the window straight away to see, and then 2014 extension, then I switched to spouse visa 2015. That was window appointment.
Yeah.
2017 was the further leave to remain on spouse. That was window. Even indefinite was on window. Each and everything was spot on window always.
Sure.
And this time, obviously, there was no option of window. I had to.
You've run out of luck, Adil. You've had your luck so far. You've managed to get to this stage. It's your turn to wait now.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just a game of time now.
Inshallah, it'll go through.
I will follow the.
Honestly, there's nothing in your case which causes any problems. But
exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much for your help today.
Thank you very much for your call. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Jazakallah for your call. Unfortunately, another question on delay. Over the last few months, over the last couple of years, there have been quite a few cases where people have simply got stuck, or their applications, have got stuck within the system, and a decision hasn't come through. And I've noticed that on nationality applications as well. You might submit, out of 10 cases, there'll always be one case where, for no apparent reason whatsoever, you won't get a decision. And it's, difficult to wait 1 year for an application to be decided. But inshallah, hopefully, you will get a decision soon on that. Thank you very much for your call. That takes us to our first break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. So inshallah, we'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. As always, if you want to send us a message, and many of our viewers have been sending messages in already, you can continue to send your messages in on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. We've had loads of messages in, so I'm going to try and address some of those questions that have come in on our WhatsApp. As always, although very popular method of getting in touch, sending messages in, as always, you can always pick up the phone and give me a ring and speak to me live on air as well. Okay, let's look at the next question that's come in. Again, it's an immigration question. Let me read the question out and then let's address it. Question is regarding my mother, who lives in Australia with permanent residency. The son lives in the UK, has a British passport, and earns £3,000 a month before tax, so gross is £3,000, has 5 children, claims universal credit, fine, understandable. Can he sponsor his mother from Australia? Can he book hotel accommodation as he does not have a spare room? And how much savings does he need? Okay, question about a visitor application. Again, visitor applications are becoming very popular now that it's easier to travel. A lot of the COVID restrictions, as far as the UK is concerned, are being removed. So even in practice, we've noticed that more and more people are looking at sponsoring visits to the United Kingdom. So this question is about our viewer whose mother lives in Australia, has permanent residency there, son is British, lives in the United Kingdom, and has a gross income of £3,000 a month. So net income probably in the region of just over £2,500 or thereabouts. Right. In terms of sponsoring mum to come to the United Kingdom, they do look at two things. One is financially, is the person in the United Kingdom able to sponsor the mother to come to the United Kingdom? Now, in my experience, if you've got a job where that's the amount of money you're receiving, and I accept that there are 5 children there, but that should be enough in terms of income. Ideally, what you should do is have some money in savings. So if you've got savings of, let's say, about £3,000, and you've got your job, stable job, which pays in the region of £3,000 a month gross, financially, that's fine. That should be acceptable. So I would try and build up the savings in the sponsor's account here in the UK to approximately £3,000. Keep that money in there for about 3 months. So as far as the sponsor is concerned, we've got £3,000 a month coming in gross, and we've got savings of about £3,000. That in itself should be sufficient to sponsor mother to come to the United Kingdom. Now, it may well be, and we don't know from the question that we have here, it may well be that mum, who is in Australia, has sufficient savings herself. Let's say mother has savings of £5,000, £6,000, then the sponsor in the UK doesn't really need to show any savings because mum herself has enough money to be coming to the United Kingdom. So you need to look at all the circumstances, not just the circumstances relating to the sponsor here. Look at the circumstances of the person who's coming from abroad. Mum is in Australia with permanent residency. It's very possible mum has money herself. So if she's got savings herself, there is less of a need for the sponsor in the United Kingdom to have savings. But let's say you want to play it safe. You've got your job which pays in the region of £3,000 a month. You've got, let's say, savings of £3,000. So on the maintenance front, in terms of being able to look after mother financially, I think that's absolutely fine. We need to look at accommodation. But before I deal with the accommodation aspect of this, we do have another caller who's been waiting for a line, or on the line for a while. So let's go to that call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Ji, bhai, thank you for calling. What's your question?
Yeah.
Brother, you're live on air. You're speaking to me live. So what's your question, please?
Hello, brother. I just...
Yep, I can hear you. If you carry on and tell me what your question is, I'll try and advise you accordingly.
Yeah, what it is, I've just got a query, and I've been here for nearly 50 years.
Okay. So you've been in the United Kingdom for?
50 years.
Right. How many years?
I've been here 50 years, and my dad made a mistake on my passport.
Okay.
And...
Right, your dad made a mistake on your passport. I've heard that.
With the date of birth.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm 3 years younger than what I should have been.
Okay, all right, okay, I understand. Okay.
And
I think you're very close to the TV, so if you move away from the TV, you might be able to hear me more clearly. I think that's the problem. So I've heard what you've said, that you've been here for a while. There's a mistake in terms of the date of birth on your passport, and you're actually 3 years younger than you are as stated on your passport. I've heard that. Okay. So do you want to amend your passport? Is that the question?
Yeah, I want to amend my date of birth.
Okay.
Officially, I retired now.
I understand.
With my correct date of birth.
I understand. I mean, to be quite honest, this issue does come up quite often.
Yeah.
So you're not the first person to ask that question. The problem arises around retirement age. It arises when you're going to claim your pension. So the problem does occur. To be able to change the date of birth on your passport, you would need the correct birth certificate. if you have the correct birth certificate, the original correct birth certificate, I don't know whether you can get your hands on that. You could, when you apply for your passport again, you could say to the passport office that there is an error in terms of your date of birth. This is your actual birth certificate, and request that they amend the date of birth in your passport. But you would need original documentary evidence of your date of birth first to be able to do that. If you've got that, you might be able to persuade the passport office to change the date of birth in your passport. But, brother, I think you're very close to your the TV. That's why it's very difficult to hear you. So if you've got any follow-up questions, do please call back. But thank you very much for that call. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Very difficult to hear our viewer who's calling in. Unfortunately, I think he was very close to the television set, which is causing problems. Now, the issue with a discrepancy in terms of dates of birth in passports, that's very, very common, to be quite honest. There is a way of getting it changed. It's not easy. What the passport office will require is the original date of birth. So the date of birth issued from when the person was born. If you manage to get hold of the original date of birth, original birth certificate with the correct date of birth on it, it may be possible to persuade the passport office to change the date of birth in the passport. Not guaranteed, but at least you can try. But thank you very much for that. Now, just before we took that call, we had a caller who'd called in asking about visitor visas, and I was just about to address the second part to sponsoring somebody to come to the United Kingdom. I addressed the fact that in terms of income of the sponsor, in terms of savings of the sponsor, it was sufficient to show savings of approximately £3,000. If you've got a salary where you're getting £3,000 gross a month, that's fine. When it comes to accommodation, so you've got a visitor coming to the United Kingdom, and when it comes to looking at whether you've got sufficient accommodation available for the visitor or not, what you should do is ideally get a housing report done if there are a number of family members already living within your house. So, for example, if you've got the husband and wife living there, there's about 4 or 5 other kids living there, and you're concerned about whether there is sufficient space for your mother who's coming to the United Kingdom to live at the property, instead of assuming that there is insufficient space, you're better off getting a housing report done. A housing inspector who comes to your house will be able to measure the rooms in the house and work out how many people can actually live in the house without it being overcrowded. And I suspect that if you are living in the house with 5 children, there's 7 of you already. When the housing inspector looks at the house and assesses all the rooms, it may well be that he might come back and assess the house as being big enough to accommodate more than 7 people. And the reason I say that is the inspector, when he looks at the house, or she looks at the house, doesn't simply look at the number of bedrooms there are. You also look at other rooms, such as your living room, dining room. So as far as a visitor application is concerned, you can take into account all the available rooms in the house. When you do that, what you tend to find is that there is actually more space in the house than you think. So a typical 3-bedroom house with a couple of other rooms and a kitchen typically could house in the region of 8-9 people. So don't just assume that there is insufficient space. If you do find that the space is insufficient, you've got a couple of options. One is you could look at using accommodation which is available at another relative's house. So it could be you've got other family members here and they've got a spare room. So you could say that as far as sponsoring my mum is concerned, I'm going to do that. But as far as accommodation is concerned, my mother will be living at my relative's house, and provide details of the relative's house. The other option, which you've alluded to, is to look at whether if there's no sufficient in your house and you can't show any other accommodation, by all means, you can pay for hotel accommodation and show that, you've paid for the next 10 days or next 20 days, and show the Home Office confirmation of the hotel having been booked and accommodation having been paid. So you can deal with the accommodation aspect of sponsorship that way as well. So you've got finances on one side and you've got accommodation on the other side. But there are various ways in which you can deal with the requirement for a sponsor to maintain somebody and accommodate somebody. But my view is, if your mother is in Australia with permanent residency, I think the visa application, the visitor application should be granted. I think there's good chances here. Thank you very much for your question. That takes us to our next break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. Inshallah, see you then. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, as always, a very popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. We've got a caller who's been waiting for a while, so let's go to our next caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother. I got a question, brother. I have spoken to you last week as well regarding the fingerprint, and you told me that you will send me an email to who to contact regarding the biometric card.
I remember actually we spoke last week. Did you leave your number with the control room?
I did leave it. So basically, the number on this number, I leave it.
Okay.
I leave the message, but that was last week. But I didn't get any email yet.
Okay.
I just want to remind you.
Okay.
And I had another question, whether I have received another letter for the biometric to do my biometric again.
Okay. I think that's.
But I have done that in last month.
Okay. You know that letter that you've received. Did you receive it by email, or is it a letter that you've received at your home address?
That's by email, brother.
Okay. Now, the email that you've received, is it possible to reply to that email, or have they said don't reply to the email? What have they said?
I think I think it's reply. You can reply to that email, yeah.
Okay. So if it's an email address where you can reply to the email address, what I would suggest is to simply tell them that you did your biometric enrollment on this date at this place, and if you've got confirmation of that, to simply send that to them. I think all that's happened is automatically the reminder has been generated because they haven't updated their system to confirm that biometric enrollment has taken place. So I think it's just automatically generated. It's not the case that there's a problem with your biometrics.
They're saying on the letter they're saying the email saying I will be grateful to my solicitor. They send it I will be grateful if you will serve the attached documents to your client in person at the earliest opportunity.
I understand. I think
that's what they send.
I think it's just a reminder. Don't be concerned about that. But it's always worth replying to that to say, look, biometric enrollment has taken place on this day. So at least if they've missed it, they will look into their system and then, put the biometric enrollment that you've done, the data for that together with your application, which is still pending. So always a good idea to reply to them, but there's no need to do it again as such.
So there's no need
No. But by all means, do reply to them to say biometric enrollment was done on this particular date, but you don't need to do it again.
Yeah, they have sent us the letter only saying that my address, my name, and my case reference number. This is the different case reference number. Before I received that was different. I had done it on that case number, my biometric, but no another reference number. I'm kind of confused. I didn't done it with this one because I called the people and they have told me that you already have fingerprints on our system on that date.
I understand.
So they just want to clarify.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, what should I do? Should I just do it because they will probably take long?
No, I don't think there's any need to do it again. I think you just need to go back to them and tell them that, look, I have enrolled. This is where I enrolled, and give them whatever confirmation that you've got confirming that you've done your biometric enrollment. So give them that. Just write back to them, email them back, and just tell them you've done what you were required to do. I think they will then sort out the slight confusion that you've got here. But now looking at what you've said, that they are clearly dealing with, issuing the visa to you. I don't think there's any need to write to them to ask them about when the card will be issued. I think what you need to be doing is going back to them and to tell them that biometric enrollment has taken place. I think that's the key thing here. I don't think there's any need at this stage to say to them, when will my visa card be issued? Because I think there might be a slight issue over biometric enrollment, and you've got their details, you know who to write to, you know who to email. That's what I would be doing at this stage.
Okay, so it's the same department you're saying?
Yeah, same department, but write to them directly. And we need to just sort out the issue over biometric enrollment. Just make sure that they know from their records that you have enrolled your biometrics, so that your case can then go to the next stage where your visa card is going to be issued. So that's what I would do. There's no point emailing them about anything else. I think reply to this letter that you've received about biometric enrollment. I think that's the key thing that you need to do at this stage.
Yeah, I have already done that. I did have replied to them. Hopefully they will come back to me.
Inshallah, hopefully. I think just a question of waiting. I don't think there's anything else that you need to do at this stage. That should be sufficient.
Yeah, after everything has been done, like after they have seen my fingerprints, do I need to wait another how long do you think to be issued?
I would say, assuming this slight confusion over whether you've done your biometric enrollment or not, let's assume that's cleared up. One would assume for the card to be issued, I would say in the region of about 2 weeks to 4 weeks. I think thereabouts to get the card issued. Unfortunately, yeah. Now we've got a lot of people self-isolating because of COVID symptoms, etc. Again, there's a slight delay in moving things along on the part of the Home Office. So let's assume 2 to 4 weeks from when this issue over biometric enrollment is cleared up. Hopefully not too long now.
Yeah, I have also tell my MP to trace them. Hopefully that will also little bit do the process a little bit quickly.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand.
Anyway,
inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your call. Jazakallah. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. We've got a caller who's been waiting for a while, so let's go to our next caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, walaikum assalam.
Gee, brother, thank you very much for calling. What's your question?
Yeah, I applied for my mother-in-law for a visit visa from Pakistan.
Understand. Okay.
And I done it online.
Understand.
And they said the process would be approximately 2 weeks.
Yep.
But this is going on since December the 3rd. And I called the office up and they gave me a number for UK visas and immigration. But I've had no, I can't get through to them and the phone just keeps ringing off. So how is there a way that I can find out where the application is?
Two things. As far as visitor applications are concerned, the normal processing time used to be 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they always used to turn visitor applications around and issue their decision in approximately 2 weeks. That was always the case.
Okay.
Currently, visitor applications are taking slightly longer to be decided. Do you remember when a while ago when UK stopped Pakistani citizens from coming to the United Kingdom because of COVID, etc. What happened at that stage was there was a huge build-up, a backlog of cases. So there was a huge backlog of cases, and they simply stopped processing them because there was no point granting a visa when there was a restriction on a Pakistani citizen from traveling to the United Kingdom. So people were applying, and all that was happening was all applications were being queued up and decisions weren't being issued. So you ended up with a significant number of cases which had queued up. When the restrictions on travel got lifted a few months ago, then they started clearing the backlog. But ever since then, what I've noticed in practice is instead of visitor applications being decided in 2 weeks. I don't know whether it's to do with the backlog or they're just simply slow. It's now taken in the region, or it was taken in the region of 2 months to get a decision on a visitor application. I think that's getting better. But when the backlog was being cleared, instead of 2 weeks, they were making decisions in 2 months, which is sort of understandable. Where if you've got a backlog which is built up over the last 3-4 months when travel has been banned, they're not going to put extra staff on. So it's the same number of staff clearing the backlog. So I wouldn't be too concerned.
How do you, if you wanted to find out or contact, how is there a
there is a way of doing it. You know, when you go onto the UKVI website, because it's an application made outside the UK, somebody's coming from abroad to the United Kingdom, so it's an application from outside the UK as opposed to an extension application. The system for that is you don't normally call them. There is an online form that you can complete, and you can ask them about the progress of the application. You'll probably get a standard reply back saying your application is in process. So that's one way of doing it. There is also a number there that you can call. I think it's a premium line number which you can call, and it's similar to you completing the online form. They'll take all your information and then email you back to tell you what's happening with the application. I suspect all they're going to say is that the application is being processed. By completing the online form or by calling them, it doesn't mean that your application gets processed more quickly. All they tell you is that the application is in process, so you know that there is no decision that's been made that hasn't come through to you. It's just been processed. You're just going to have to wait. Basically, that's the kind of reply you get back.
Yeah. I only received one email from them, and that email was at the beginning to say that your application's in the process, and that was on the 6th of December.
I understand.
After that, I've heard nothing.
You know what I would do, bearing in mind there is a slight delay in applications being processed, and also bearing in mind we've had a bit of a break over Christmas holidays.
Sure.
I would actually wait until the end of January before really pushing them to find out what's going on. I would actually wait till the end of January. I think there's nothing unusual in not having a decision back in 5 to 6 weeks. I wouldn't be too concerned at this stage.
Okay.
You've got that email, so we know for sure that they've got the right email address. Continue to check your emails, continue to check your junk box, just in case a decision goes through there. Apart from that, I would actually wait, bearing in mind there's a delay, bearing in mind we've had the Christmas break. Maybe end of January, first week of February. Hopefully you'll get a decision by then.
Okay, no problem at all then.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for your call, and hopefully you'll get a positive reply soon, inshallah. Okay, thank you very much. Again, we've had a number of questions on delay, whether there's a delay in processing an in-country application or whether there's a delay in processing an out-of-country application. In practice, we have noticed that there are significant delays in applications being processed. We'll look at this in greater detail after we've come back from our short break. See you in a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, as always, popular way of getting in touch is to send us a message on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. We've had numerous questions coming in, and what I want to do now is turn to some of our messages that have come in over the last hour or so and try and address some of those interesting questions that our viewers have been sending in. Next question that's come in is regarding a visit visa. Let me read the question out and then let's see where we are. Our viewer says, Assalamu alaikum. I am a British citizen and I got married in Pakistan. My husband is a Pakistani citizen and my daughter is a Pakistani citizen as well. I want to travel to the UK for a holiday along with my husband and my daughter. So husband and daughter are Pakistani citizens. will be applying for a visit visa. For them, will it cause any issues as I am British and both of them are not? No, it shouldn't cause any issues as such. And this does happen in practice where, as far as the parties are concerned, one person is British, the other isn't, and there may be children who may not be British citizens either, and they're all living abroad. They want to come to the United Kingdom for a visit. Obviously, the person who's British doesn't need a visa. The other parties, the husband in this case, the daughter as well, will need a visit visa. So that in itself isn't a problem. That's not even unusual as such. The issue really is when you apply for a visit visa for your husband and your daughter, will they be granted a visit visa or not? It's slightly tricky because in my experience, the Home Office is always concerned that you're not using the visitor route to try and bring your husband and your daughter easily into the United Kingdom. So they're concerned that you're not going to do that. So you need to try and make sure that you have a strong visitor application. You demonstrate that your life is in Pakistan. You've got assets there, savings there, job there, and this is simply a visit and you will go back. I think that's the issue with this visitor application. We've had a caller who's been waiting for a while, so let's go to our next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Ji, walaikum salam. Ji, thank you for calling. Ji,
am I speaking to live TV?
You are live, and you're speaking to myself, Ilyas, live on air.
Okay, that's fine. Let me ask you my question.
Right, okay.
So, basically,
I could hear the first bit when you've said basically, and then I've not been able to hear you. I think there was a slight difficulty with your call. If you do call again, our control room will try and put you through to me. I think your call has just been cut off by mistake. So do please try and call again, and I'll try and assist you as best I can. Okay, let's go to our next message that's come in. Again, looks like a immigration law question. I would like to ask if a postgraduate student wants to get married with a British citizen in the United Kingdom, is that permissible? So a postgraduate student in the United Kingdom who wants to get married to a British citizen in the UK, is the marriage in the UK permitted? I think there's a simple answer to that, and that is that there's no problem. The marriage can take place. Okay, that's the first part of that question. I will address the second part, but I think our caller who wasn't able to get through properly last time is now back on the line, so let's go back to him. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
hello, assalamu alaikum.
Ji, walaikum salam. Brother, you're back live on air.
Okay, thank you so much. So basically, I'm a carer of a British citizen. My dad is a British citizen. I had student visa.
Okay.
Okay, let me give you the little bit of history, and then I'll tell you what happened. So I made an application as a carer of a British citizen under the Zambrano principle.
I understand. Okay. Yep.
Then the application was rejected.
Okay.
And with an appeal right, and then on May 2021, my appeal was allowed by first tribunal. Then I was given a biometric residence permit,
okay,
which expired on 30th of June 2021.
I understand, yeah.
And what happened when I received my biometric card, I had only 4 days of, expiry.
Okay. So
along with the card, they sent me a paper. It says as the UK comes out of EU on 30th of June 2021, if you want to stay in this country, then you have to make an application under the EU
settlement scheme. Yep.
By 30th of June 2021. So I made an application.
Yep.
Either it's going to be a settlement status or pre-settled status.
I understand.
It's been 6 months, 18 days since I made my application.
I understand.
The last letter I've received from them was on August 2021. And then, I had a chat with the EU Settlement Resolution Center many a times, I would say around 10, 15 times. And every time when I speak to them, they say, look, your application is in safe side. When I had a chat with them last Friday, they said, we received your expired biometric residence permit as well as your passport on 30th of September 2021. If the caseworker needs anything else, he will, contract with you.
Sure.
But the thing is, I haven't received any letter invitation for biometric enrollment, or I haven't received any certificate of application. It's more than 6.5 months. Is there any way I can chase them up, or do you have any idea what's going on with this Zambrano principal case, or what can I do actually? My dad is quite sick, and obviously I am mentally depressed for a long time, So I'm just thinking what to do,
I understand. Look, the first thing is this: you shouldn't be concerned about there being a problem with your application. You shouldn't be concerned at all. We have a number of applications that were submitted just before the 30th of June 2021, where we are still waiting for a decision. So the delay isn't a cause for concern. The delay is simply because of a pressure on the part of the Home Office due to shortage of staff to process these applications, and also pressure on the Home Office because of the number of applications that were submitted just before the deadline. So they are working through those cases, working through the backlog. So there is bound to be a delay. So don't be concerned about the delay. I mean, we have a number of cases which were submitted around that time. We're still waiting for a decision. So in August 2021, they would have written to you and they would have sent a letter to you saying, it would have said certificate of application or confirmation of application, something along those lines. So that's your proof that the application has been submitted. That allows you to continue working in the UK as well. Don't be concerned about the delay. You're right.
Sorry, excuse me. Am I still on the line?
You are. So don't be.
Is there any way I can chase them up? Obviously, because as I said, probably you missed my point. My dad is terminally ill. So if in case, just to ask you, if any accident happens with my dad,
sure,
what will happen with my application?
The problem is, if something was to happen, let's say worst case scenario, inshallah this doesn't happen, but if your dad is no longer with you, then that would cause problems with the application. Because obviously the application is based on your dad, you caring for your dad. So that could cause problems for you. How long have you been caring for your dad in the United Kingdom?
I've been caring my dad ever since I moved to this country. I've been in this country for 13 years.
Okay.
So just to let you know.
Were you legal or did you overstay at all? I mean, 13...
let me tell you about the history. What happened, I've been in this country, I had been in this country for 9 years as a student.
Okay.
Back in 2017, my dad got severely ill, who is a British citizen. So I had to stop going to uni and started looking after my dad.
I understand.
And then I made multiple attempts, 4 attempts, to make them understand that, look, I am the carer of my dad. And they refused me 4 times. On 4th times when I went to the court, and finally, with all the letters from the hospitals and the specialist consultant, the judge, convinced that, no, he is a true carer of his dad. So the judge allowed my appeal. But what happened when I initially made my applications as a carer of a British citizen, and it got rejected. But I made the applications within 14 days of each and every application.
I think on that, the problem is because there were multiple rejections. The problem is your continuous legal residence would have been broken. So we can't go down the 10-year route. I know what you're saying, that when one application was refused, rejected, you went for the next application. I understand that, but your 10 years legal residence would be broken at that stage, so that doesn't help. Now, I think all you can do at this stage is wait for a decision. If you can get a letter about the difficulties that you are under because of the delay and get your MP to write to the Home Office, that may mean that you get a quicker decision. That's the only way. A doctor's letter explaining the severe problems that you're experiencing with the delay in processing. If you can get that kind of letter from a doctor, speak to your MP, get the MP to write to the Home Office, that may get them to look at your application more quickly. But apart from that, brother, there isn't anything else that I can suggest to you. That is the best way of getting the Home Office to look at this more quickly. Unfortunately, we are coming towards the end of the show, and I've not been able to have a more in-depth discussion with you. But I would urge upon you that the way to get this moving more quickly is to get a letter from a doctor, speak to your MP, get your MP to write to the Home Office. I think that's your best option given the circumstances that you are in. But I wouldn't be concerned as such about the delay. A lot of these applications are still in the pipeline and haven't been processed yet. So don't be concerned about the delay, but there is a way to try and get them to make a quicker decision. Fortunately, that brings us to the end of the show. Inshallah, we'll be back next week at the same time. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.